Okay, it's 11 o'clock, so I'll get started with the official part. And so welcome again, everybody, for joining us. I've already mentioned it a few times, but I'll repeat it one more time, is that we definitely we really value your feedback and your questions. So at any time, feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, and one of us will monitor that. We also ask you to switch off your microphone if you're not engaged in the conversation. That makes it a little bit easier. And video is definitely optional. It's not a problem either way. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about the topic is attracting visitors to your website. And again, it's an important topic for anybody. Like having a website by itself and not having enough traffic. That's a typical scenario that we run into with a lot of clients. So it's kind of like getting more customers in your store, right? But now, of course, as we're moving more and more online, getting customers to your door or to your website, right? So it's the same thing. So I just want to quickly introduce two people that are on this call. So we have Robert. Robert is our project manager, digital marketing specialist at Edge, and we'll be talking about more of some of the things that he works a lot on, which is the paid advertising and some of the more technical SEO. We have Katie as well with us. She is our content strategist, and whatever else we make her do. So we appreciate her support as well. So she's going to be doing a little bit of the moderating, right? if needed. So keep us on track, and make sure all the technology works and stuff like that. So, I think I see Jason on our call as well. For the people that know Jason, so hello, Jason. Hello, Jason. Jason is working away in a lot of website stuff, so he's a busy man at the moment. So. Yeah, so let's dig in here, unless anybody has any other questions. So we're just gonna continue on here. Okay, so this is a question that came up a couple webinars ago. We've been doing this now for a while, and we just want to make sure. Some people ask, well, what does Edge do? Now, Edge is not a company that really maybe blows their own horn enough. So this is just a brief overview of what Edge does. So websites and marketing is really sums it up. So we do a lot of work on creating strategy and messaging for our clients. That's a really important first step. And that's one of the areas that Katie is really working in. Then we, of course, build websites. We build hundreds of websites. And we make sure that a lead generating website, we're actually working for your business, which we feel is really important. And then we provide several digital marketing services. And some of those services we're actually going to talk about today. But I just want you to know that, if you're interested, that's some of the things that Edge does. And we're located in the building that's in that photo there. So that's one of the, we're based out of Lacombe, as probably most of you know. So we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the, and some of our other webinars. I think some of the people on this call already have been part of some of those other webinars. But if you haven't been, then that's not a problem. But we're talking about the third step in the process of putting together a digital marketing plan that works for your business.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about your total online presence, because besides the website, of course, there's other areas that you need to pay attention to as well. So that's important. And we, like why do we want more traffic to our website? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But the main part of the presentation is about three tactics or three things you can do to really increase the traffic to your site. And that's being paid online advertising, the search engine optimization. Hopefully we can clarify what it is and what it isn't. There's a lot of confusion about some of those terms. And then the third leg is the content marketing and social media. So there's always, having said this, these three things, there's always more things you can do. But we do believe these are the core three things. If you could implement those in your business or start working on these things in your business or organization, you're going to be ahead of probably like 80% of your competitors. At the end of that, hopefully you'll have some questions, and we can actually take those questions and try to answer those. So I would really encourage that. Okay, so this is a brief overview of what we talked about already. So like in a nutshell, we believe these 4 steps. If you take these 4 steps, your digital marketing approach, like the way you present yourself online, how you generate more business online, because that's ultimately the goal. Or if you're not for profit, it would be more awareness or more whatever your objectives are. So the same principles go for profit and not for profit, of course. So the first step was clarifying the message, right? Like, what problem are you solving for your client? How do you put it in words? How do you make sure that your message resonates with your client? That's a really important first step. Then there is the second step was, like the website itself. Of course, without like a good functioning website, like none of these other techniques will really work very well for you. So that's the second step that you already have taken or you will have to take. So now we're getting to the third leg of that. It is attracting visitors to the website. So there's again, the paid advertising, the search, and the content marketing piece. So just to kind of put it into context somewhat. So this is the way we kind of look at the online presence of our clients or any small business. So again, this is kind of the framework that we work with. There's different opinions from different providers, of course, on this, but we believe that these all the circles you see in the screen are the ones that a small business should be working on. So first of all, like being the website needs to be that's the core foundation of your overall online presence. Then there's the content, which over the years has become more and more important. Google is really putting a lot of emphasis on quality content, and it makes a lot of sense because when people searching for certain information, Google wants to serve them quality information that they can actually do something with, right? So the content piece has really increased over the last couple of years. That's a really important factor in everything. And then the SEO, like basically making it really easy for people to find the information on your website and actually for you as a business or organization to show up when people are searching for you. And that's really what SEO is. It's not rocket science, but it is definitely a piece of your business that really needs to be taken care of. So on the outside of those circles, there's other tools and tactics, and we'll be talking more detail about some of these, like on the SEO, for example, and on the content end of things. And then there's the bottom blue circle is represents some of the paid advertising that we're going to tackle today as well. So there's a lot to cover, and I do realize every time you put this presentation together, I go like, oh, we could probably put this in 3 presentations as well, but we're just giving you the bird's eye overview. So at least okay, these are 3 things that we need to pay attention to in our business, and then slowly start to pick away at that, like start to work on that. Like we don't expect everybody right away to do everything at once. It's just not realistic, right? It's a process. But if you know where to start and you know what your goals are, you're going to be in a better position to actually get to a point that you can successfully improve on these things. Now, why do we even care about website traffic? Well, these are probably pretty obvious statements, but having a beautiful website that nobody can find online is probably not going to do very much for your business, right? So, we really want to make sure that we generate traffic to the website, because when people knock on your door or go to your retail store, or actually go to your business, now you have a client that you can talk to and explain to what you do. But before you get to that point, you just don't have that opportunity. So the website in a lot of cases will be the first point of contact for most of your clients, again depending on your business, but a very important contact point for your clients. Well, simply put, you wanna get the most out of your website investment as well, because you've invested money into it. You've put a lot of effort into building this website. Now you want to make sure that actually going to generate results for you, and that's why it's important to get better quality traffic. The one thing I will say, like just the sheer volume of traffic is probably not the main goal that we have with this. it also needs to be quality traffic as well. People are actually that are actually interested in your product and actually have a need for it. So the other thing is like conversions. Like a lot of traffic may come through the search or may come through social media platforms, but the reality is that the conversion still happens generally on the website for in most cases. So that's why it's important to direct people to that website. It's also an important part of the customer journey because different people will have different purposes when they visit your site. So we want to make sure that we have the right information on there, and again, make it easier for them to find you and then find out what you're all about. And then the last thing is to actually capture those leads as well. So the reality is a lot of people that go to your website may just be checking things out. They're not sure if they're gonna, they don't know you yet, so they're starting to kind of find out about you. And a lot of, like a mistake that I see on some website is we're assuming that they're ready to buy today, but oftentimes they're not. So you want to make sure that when they get to the website, somehow you also capture some of those leads. And that's a whole other discussion again, but that's something to keep in mind as well. So once we have people coming to your website, now how can you basically nurture that relationship, build that relationship with those clients? Okay, so again, going back to after this introduction, going back to the three tactics that we're going to talk about, the paid online advertising, the search engine optimization, and the content marketing. And because the first one, and these are not in necessarily in any particular order. So these are all three things we believe we should be doing. However, in a lot of cases, some of the paid online options are actually really good to consider, like relatively early when you launch a new website or a new business. And Robert here is going to talk a little bit about more of the details about that, why that is important. So with that, I'm just going to go to the next slide here, and then Robert, do you want to take it over from here for your portion here?
Absolutely. Yeah, so thanks, Peter, for the introduction. And yeah, so what I wanted to talk to everybody about here today is kind of paid online advertising and some of the benefits it can really bring when you are trying to drive traffic to the website, because that's the whole focal point of this this webinar here. So I want to touch on some of the core overview, some of the core benefits. I don't want to dive too deep, but just touch on some of the core things that would really help and what we found as we use online advertising a lot for ourselves, but even for our clients on what we take away from it. So one of the core things we always find when we just launch a new website and we start to optimize it for SEO, for example, for SEO, is that it's not something that happens overnight or even in a couple of days or weeks. It can take months for that to really start building traction. And the reason for that really is, and we'll dive a little bit deeper with Peter in that as well later on, is because Google has to search your website and really figure out what you're trying to promote and what your business is all about, what products or services are you providing to your potential customers that are searching for you. So it has to pair you up amongst hundreds of other websites in your area that may have already have those services that are already presenting that. So with paid online advertising, it's a really good way to get results fast and drive traffic to your website. In a very quick manner. You can set it up professionally in a relatively fast timeline and have ads showing up, promoting your business, and bypassing organic results within days. So as soon as you launch it, your ads will start showing up. So that's one way that we always boost websites to get traffic to the website. And when we say bypass organic results, is when you type in a search term or a keyword in your search, in your platform like Google or Bing or Yahoo, for example. One example might be like plumbing company. If for them to start showing up organically, it takes time, like I mentioned earlier. So with Google or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn advertising, it's a great way to kind of bypass that and really start showing information or about your business right away. And it's a great way for website real estate. So what I mean by that is Peter, if you don't mind going to the next slide there, is you can show a lot of information that you normally can't show on your website right away when you launch it. So with advertising, you can right away show exactly what you're doing, how to contact you, what some of your core products and services are, where you're located, and a lot of other links to your website that can right away give people very valuable information that they normally wouldn't find if you were to just launch a website and they were to type, for this example, plumbing company. So it's a really good tool to just promote you and kind of, like we said, bypass your organic results from local competitors that you might be competing with. Over time, of course, you will work on SEO, and it will start to, if you know, continuously work on that piece. So when we say SEO, like Peter mentioned, it's really just a fancy term for what are the keywords that people are putting into their browsers to find your business. But this is a great way to bypass that. And another wonderful tool and benefit for doing paid online advertising is you can be very specific as to where you're targeting and who you're targeting and how you're targeting. So of course, when you first launch a website or product or service, you already kind of have a strong understanding as to what you're selling, or what are some of those search terms that people might come to you asking what you have or how they find you. So you can right away put that into target those keywords in your ads, and then be very specific. So with SEO, it takes time to build your reputation for Google's end in a specific geographical area. So it might be Lacombe or Red Deer. But with Google, you can, again, kind of bypass all that and say, you know what, I only want my ads to show for particular keywords, let it be plumbing near me, or plumbing services, or plumbing company, or plumber Red Deer, for example. I only want them to show in Red Deer, so my ads only show there. So it's a great tool to be very direct and right away get people who are searching for you will see your ad. So you right away know when people look at it or when they click your ad and they go to your website, you know it's more likely a high quality lead, and it's not somebody that's just kind of kicking tires and looking around. They're actively looking for that product or service. So that's what a great benefit of paid online advertising is as well. Now, another one that we find very beneficial is it's very cost effective and measurable. So we know, of course, most small businesses like ourselves, you know, you have a monthly budget. It's not unlimited, unfortunately. So you have to be careful and smart on how you spend your monthly advertising dollars and how you proceed with your marketing strategy. So you can set your monthly budgets with paid online. You can say, you know what, I want to spend $10 a day, no more, and you won't. So your ad, you know, you can have the guarantee that you're going to stick within that $10 a day range. And you also have the benefit of knowing and the comfort of knowing that right away your ads will start showing up for those search terms, and you're going to get results quicker, and you're going to bypass organic results and give a lot of information to clients that may have not known you before, valuable information that they don't even have to look for or you know, spend a lot of their energy on. Right away, you're giving them, you know, you can give them a rundown of your company and where you're located and how to contact you, which is very valuable. And then the other thing that we find is probably one of the most beneficial things about it is measurable. So you can right away see if it's working or not. And that's something that we love to look at, is dive in and look at, okay, what are some of the key elements that are working here? What are some of the keywords that we might need to change or that are really working for this particular business that we're promoting? And what do we need to change? So right away, instead of a very long-term you know, strategy that we're going to work with SEO, pay-per-click, or Google online advertising or paid online advertising, right away gives you a really strong indicator of what is going to work, what are people looking for, and how you can adjust that. So it gives you a really strong foundation moving forward. And what we'll touch on for long-term search engine success is build a strong foundation about what is going to work in paid online advertising and adjust that accordingly. So if we go to the next slide again, one thing that we also really enjoy here is we have search ads, which is very direct, and that's what you can see on the left-hand side with the blue heading. So right away it gives people that are actively looking for that very specific service or product right away you give them what they need. And of course, if they click it, it drives traffic to your website. But if they don't click it, the actual benefit of paid online advertising is it's a great way of building even awareness for your brand locally, because if they don't click, you don't actually pay. So that's always a nice benefit as well. But it still builds exposure, because even if your ad wasn't there and they never click, at least now they still see your name is on the list, right? So versus organically, it takes time to build that up, which is not something we don't recommend you put aside. It's a super important step, but this is just a kind of a nice way to speed that up for you. And then there is display advertising, which I'm sure many of you have seen before. If you're browsing, a blog or a website somewhere, display advertising is one of those wonderful tools where you can even reach a broader audience. So search is very direct, but display, you can say, you know what, they're in a specific audience group, or they're looking for a specific or general service or product that I'm offering. They might not be actively looking for it when they are online at the moment, but you can present to them with display ads. So it's a great tool to get a wider range of potential customers to come to your website, knowing that right away you can be very specific on how and who you're targeting with those display ads as well. That's more on the back end, and we won't touch too much on that, but it's just great way of knowing, okay, what are some of those different audience groups that I could be targeting that otherwise I may have missed that opportunities with. So that's why we always really encourage people to use both, and you can use both in a collaborative, multiple different ways. But those are some of the core benefits that we find is really strong when we use Google Ads or paid online advertising or Bing or Facebook ads or even LinkedIn ads is you can get some results instantly instead of a long term. And most people, like myself, I'm sure, like to get results fast. Waiting isn't always as fun. So this is a great way to bypass that.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. And like one thing I would like to add on that, like these the logos on the back are kind of the some of the main advertising platforms when it comes to Google, of course, and that's like 99% of the people are using Google to do searches. Correct, Robert? That's pretty clear, I think. So like what Robert talked about, like it's really difficult to stand out these days, right? With the sheer volume of options for people online. And the same goes for Facebook. So once we get into the Facebook section of the presentation, or the social media portion of the presentation, the fact that you can actually pay to get your message across on Facebook is actually a really good strategy too, because and on Instagram or Twitter, whatever the platform is that you're using, because you're bypassing some of this sheer volume of posts and information that comes across people's screens. So again, that's another reason we believe that it's something that you should definitely consider. Okay. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to put it in the chat box. So that's a very brief overview of the paid advertising, online advertising component of creating or generating more traffic to your website. So then the second portion is about search engine optimization or SEO. Now, exactly what does that mean? Well, it basically means that a lot of people are searching. We already have established that, and if you look at this little graph here, you can see that at least 80% of people, when they look for a product or look for a store, if it's a local business, they will go to Google more than any other tool before they actually to find out about them, to find even directions or what they can offer, before they even would do anything else. So with that in mind, obviously it's very important that we optimize our websites and our online presence for that. So make sure that we capture some of that traffic. So if people are looking for a plumber, they actually and we're in the plumbing business, that people actually easily find us. So this is what we in the business call the organic results. So Robert talked about the paid advertising. So we're paying Google, we're paying Facebook, we're paying Instagram to display an advertising message, which is really what we've been doing in marketing for years already, right? Like instead of advertising in newspapers, now we're basically advertising on those social media platforms or in Google itself. So it is pretty clear that for most businesses, this is a really important thing to do. So how does that work, and what are some of the things that you can just implement or start working on that will really make a big difference? So when Google, when you type in something in Google, Google needs to make a whole bunch of decisions in a split second, basically. And then they're extremely good at this. So generally speaking, the results they're giving us are getting better all the time, right? And that's of course Google's business model. That's the only thing they offer, really. They offer a lot of different services, I know, but the Google search results and the advertising that goes with that represents 95% of the revenues for Google. So Google really constantly works with thousands of people to make this better every day. So we benefit from that, right? So when Google looks at a website, and of course it's a completely automated process. There's no real person looking at your website. But they have different factors they take into consideration when they rank you compared to your competitor, for example. And on this diagram, it gives some of the main aspects that Google actually uses to rank your business. So, for example, if there's going back to the plumbing example again, there's 3 plumbers in your town or 10 plumbers, and they all have websites. They all do some kind of or some of them have a website, and some of them do some marketing. This is kind of an overview of how Google will look at that website in order to rank which website result would be the best based on that key phrase that people put into Google. So the first one is on page, and what does that mean? That means that's the content. Just like what is the messaging that you have on your site? Does it match with what the people are looking for? Is it valuable information? Is it just a sales message, or do you actually give people tips on how to use their product that people may be interested in? So those are all things that people take or Google takes into consideration. That also includes more of the technical SEO, what we call. So some of the keywords that are hidden behind the scenes and all that. And I'll touch on that in a few minutes. But yeah, the on page is actually really important. And actually, like I said earlier, the content area is really one of the areas that over the last couple of years Google has put a lot more emphasis on that. So that's really good to know as a business. And if you want to improve your rankings and your search visibility, then those are some of the areas that are really important. Then there's the reviews. Everybody's familiar with Google reviews, the Facebook reviews. We find especially the Google reviews, because again, we're living in this Google kind of ecosystem. The reviews of what people say about you and how many reviews you have is actually an indicator for them. Okay, well, this business is definitely active. We're getting good reviews, and of course, not every business, you can't always have good reviews either, but Google uses that as a factor to kind of to put a score on your website and how you would rank in that. So yeah, so the question on the chat here, like the on page includes what you said, what you're saying on your website. So the messaging, like the wording you're using, the headings, how it's structured, right? Is it logically organized, and some of those things. So then Google My Business, we did a complete webinar on that last year. It is Google My Business profile. It's a free profile that every business has. If you haven't claimed it yet, as soon as you're off this call, make sure you take control of that. Yeah. Because it's connected to all the Google services, and Google gives your organization the opportunity to actually update your own information, which feeds directly into the Google machine. So it's a no-brainer. You just need to make sure that you pay attention to that. Personalization means that they certainly give you the results that are relevant to you, right? Like based on your location, based on other things that you've looked at in the past. So that's kind of that portion. Citations is like your listing in different directories, and there's the whole pile of them. Most of them you probably have never heard of, but the reality is that those listings actually are a ranking factor. Like Google actually looks at those to make sure that the information on those platforms is correct. Then behavioral is more, if you have visited this website before, you've probably noticed this too. You've gone to a website, quite easily that result comes back the next time. It almost comes to the top of the list. That has to do with some of the user experience. So. Okay, so again, organic results are quote unquote free because you're not paying Google anything for it, right? You may pay your web developer or your marketing agency something to develop that, or your own time. I mean, unless your time is free, you definitely have to put some effort into it as well. But you're not paying a monthly fee for that to anybody, so that's kind of cool and that's important, right? It always starts with the keyword research. So, make sure that you know what your clients are actually typing into Google, and there's certain tools that you can use to find out what those are. There's a lot of free tools out there. If you punch in, keyword research or keyword planner or anything like that in Google, you probably get a whole bunch of different options. We use a tool called Keyword Finder. It's a very simple tool. What we like about it, you can really narrow down to like smaller communities as well. Like some of those, I just posted it on this slide. So if you're interested in some of those tools, you can definitely search for them. SEMrush is a huge company. They're really good at what they do. But what we find sometimes, like we're an Alberta-based business, that unless you live in Edmonton or Calgary, like they don't really give you a lot of feedback if you live in Lacombe or your clients are living in Central Alberta. So that's a paid tool. You pay a small fee for that. And there's a whole, Google has a tool too. You can do your research, because for SEO, that's really the foundation of everything else you're doing after that. Like once you nail down your top 10 key phrases that you feel, or that because you did the research on it, that actually that's what your clients are typing in. You're going to be, and you're using those keywords in your content. You're using those keywords with the technical aspect of SEO. Of course, you're going to have a bigger chance to rank better for those terms. So that's really important. So with having said that, the four things that we want to talk about briefly is the content, and we already talked about it a little bit. It's about the local SEO, what we call it. So really making sure that you show up in your home market. And again, I'd say for 95% of our clients, that's probably the scenario. They work in a certain market area. They're not global companies. I don't want to give you the impression that we're dealing with large multinationals or anything like that. We just don't. We work with companies like yours, small businesses in Alberta generally. So again, the local results are really what we're after. I don't care what people see in California. We don't need to rank in that area because we don't necessarily go after that market. So that's important. Then the on-site optimization, again, that's more the technical stuff. Robert will share a little bit of information on that. And then there's a thing called backlinks. So backlinks are basically, the links that are linking back to your website. And again, that's a vote of confidence for Google, and I'll briefly touch on that. So the first step is the content, and I think we've already established that it's more and more important now than ever before. Having good content, quality content that has valuable information, that is well structured. So again, very easy for people to find, and also very easy to find for Google as well. So there's certain things you can do to structure your text, and knowing what your keywords are. Of course, you're gonna use some of those key phrases or even questions that people ask you. You kind of try to include them in the actual writing on the content of your website. So that's really important. When you do that, though, and I'm sure you've seen this happen as well. Some people go a little bit overboard with that. They every other sentence has the same keyword. And we start to write for robots and for Google and not for other human beings, which again is a very bad strategy in a lot of different ways. So, try not to do that, but it's totally fine to actually use the same words that your client would use to describe their problem. And again, going back to the plumbing problem, I have a leaky faucet, right? So if leaky faucet is I'm not saying that's a key phrase, it could be. If that's one of the key phrases that is important to your business, then of course you want to somehow weave that into your content. So having a clear brand message, and again, we did a webinar that last year as well, is again forms the basic of how you develop this content, right? Like you're talking about the problem that you're solving for your clients, and how do you do that? Really write in a way that that resonates with your clients and what's really important to them. Again, there's structural things that you can do, like very clear headings, like describe a piece of have a very clear description of this page. Human beings generally scan websites. They have very little patience or very little time in general, right? Like if you have 3 or 4 seconds to scan a website, that's probably all. So you need to make sure that you structure it properly, because with Google getting smarter and smarter, they're actually looking at those things as well. They're looking at how you what the user experience will be once Google directs them to your website. So you want to make sure that that's easy to use. We are, well, I won't say experimenting, but this is like a relatively new concept for us. We call it hub pages. So again, it's making sure, like if you are a expert in your field, make sure that you, instead of putting all that expertise on one page, split it up in different sections and actually optimize it all for one particular topic. And you can almost look at that as people that would ask questions and they go to Google to ask anything, right? Or Alexa or whatever they use. So again, if you start thinking along those lines and you create the content and the structure based on those questions that people ask, again, it has proven that Google really likes those kind of websites because they feel it's a good overview of a topic. And if they send people to that page, now all of a sudden they have all this information available. So again, we feel it's important to have one topic per page, ideally, because again, you can't optimize for 10 different products on the same page. So that's another important part of your content portion. So yeah, that's a little bit about the content that I want to share, and we can definitely open it up for more questions. But think back about the circles again and how important this part is for SEO. I think if you don't get this content piece right, it doesn't really matter what you do for the actual technical SEO or the keywords or even your website, right? You can have a beautiful website with bad content. You're always gonna be behind. So it's really important to take care of that portion. Okay, Katie actually threw a link in the chat box for evaluation form. In case you missed that, we would love it if you would do a review before you leave the room here. We would really appreciate that. Yeah, so I'll just move into the next section here. And Robert, were you going to tackle this? I was going to tackle this one, right?
That was yours, yeah.
Okay. So breaking it down to local SEO. So what is local SEO, or what are some of the components of local SEO? And again, it's for your local business that works in Alberta or in Red Deer or in Lacombe or Ponoka or Calgary. How can you show up where it matters most, right? So one of the things that are important for ranking, and I think I already mentioned it before, is kind of your business is automatically listed in all these different directories. And if you look on the right side of the screen, there's a few. There's literally thousands of different directories out there. And again, a lot of them you've never visited or you've never heard of. But the reality is, like, Google uses those directories as a ranking signal. So they actually look at, like, if the information correct, like, are you in the same category? And one really simple thing they look at is name, address, and phone number. Is it consistent? So one way to rank better and get more traffic to your website is actually to go to some of those directories and actually make sure that you have the right information there. It is, we actually going through this process ourselves for Edge right now. We've been working on this for, Katie, I'd say like at least a couple months actively. It's definitely a bit of a chore, but again, we feel if you focus on the most important ones, and Google My Business, of course, is part of this list again as well. So if you kind of take care of some of those and go in there, and it's a little bit of work because you have to create an account or you have to claim the page, but it's well worth it in our opinion, because now you can actually have access to the to that free. Generally speaking, they have a free option. And again, make sure that your business information is correct. The link to your website, for example, is correct. I've seen it so many times that they have an older website or there's no website attached to this profile. So again, Google looks at all these things and tries to make a judgment call about your company. And I know it's not fair, but that's kind of how they operate. So that's, again, if you can take care of some of those things and clean it up, and then pick away at that over the next 6 months or 3 months and make sure that you have it all correctly. It is a service we provide for our clients as well through a company called Bright Local. And you do pay for that, but then they actually go in there and do some of the heavy lifting for you to a certain extent. Although there's still little things there that they cannot do. But it definitely is helpful if you want to take that extra step. It's just kind of cleaning up what's out there, because a lot of people don't even know they have those listings, right? And then I totally understand that. So Bing, of course, we haven't really talked about Bing. There's probably a couple, generally speaking, in any group, there's a couple Bing fans. So I don't want to say anything bad about Bing because it's a part of the Microsoft ecosystem. So in some ways, Bing is a better search engine in some respects. But the reality is, it's that like 85% of the people is using Google instead, right? So, but again, if that's only 15% of your audience, that's still an important piece of information that you should probably clean up. There's also industry-specific directories as well that you can be listed in. For example, if you're a law firm, there's directories for law firms. And again, nobody may actually ever look at those directories anymore, but Google goes like, okay, well, that kind of confirms the business they're in, the category they're in. I feel I have to speed up a little bit unless, otherwise we'll run out of Q&A time, but I think I'm making good progress. Okay, this is your slide, Robert, I think.
Yeah.
This is the more technical stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So generally speaking, your web developer or your more technical person or your agency would take care of some of these things. So briefly, give us a little bit of a taste of what some of these things are.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Peter. So yeah, this is where we're going to talk about on-site SEO. And I know Amanda asked earlier, so what does on-page mean? Well, this is kind of where we're going to talk and dive a little bit deeper into that. So one thing we always look at is some of the key points is keyword-rich URL. So what does that really mean? It sounds a lot, but one thing we recommend to actually help your website rank higher in search engines like Google, Bing, Yahoo, and to get people to your website is use the core keywords or search terms that your business provides in your URL. So for example, for Edge, we actually have the keyword marketing right in there. Just because that's a phrase that people will use to type in to find their business. So Google automatically, when they start to rank or index, they call it, it's basically when they search your website, it means, okay, that keyword, that phrase is right in the URL. So that means more than likely the content, what the website is about reflects that. So that's one thing that we recommend. The other thing that we talk about and that we spend a lot of time on ourselves is the page titles, or title tags they're called. And what they do really is they provide clients or potential customers browsing the web, show search engines results and provide information to people who are looking for things related to your product or services. So as you can see in the example, the screenshot that I took earlier, we have web design Red Deer as one of our keywords in one of our title tags. It's because that's what we find based on our research is that's one of the big keywords that people use to find their business, and that's what they use to find businesses in the common industry as well. So we want to be competitive with that and rank high for that keyword. So what we've done is, of course, put our name in it, so people right away know that. But then we also put our top keywords in there. And Peter mentioned earlier, focus on 10. Honestly, 5 to 10 top keywords is what you want to start working with. I know there is probably hundreds, if not thousands, of variations out there, but really look at what are the top 5 to 10 keywords that are going to be easy to work with, and that about probably 80 to 90% of your customers will use to find your business online. Start working with those and really start to implement them in the title tag. So what a title tag looks like, it's usually the blue text when you type in a search query or even plumbing or marketing into your browser. It's the blue line that shows up, and it's usually about 10 to 12 that show up on the first page. That's what a title tag reflects. So, use unique descriptive titles, make it unique about your company. Don't try to repeat or copy anybody else. Google actually frowns upon that. And when we talk about content on the last part there, we'll dive a little deeper. And then include your most important keywords is what we did as well. So, again, always tie it together and make sure it's easy to read and understand. Again, like Peter mentioned earlier, don't make it for robots or search engines, even though they're the ones that crawl it. Make it friendly for people to actually be able to read and understand, and that they go, okay, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is for me. I want to go there and check this website out or this business out. The other thing is the description, meta description, and that's usually about a sentence right underneath the title tag. And it just gives a really clear overview, unique overview of what your business is about and what it provides. And again, try to include those top keywords in your description. It's just use a unique and clear description that people can scan again as well. Include your most important keywords, and always going back to that. And it encourages people to click and link to your website, So as you can probably start to see a bit of a trend here, what we've talked about, even with paid, with on-page SEO that we're talking about here, and even with content, which Peter will dive in, has talked about, and I'll talk a little bit about as well, is always focus on those key words, phrases, whatever it might be for your company, and really try to emphasize them throughout multiple different layers through your marketing material. So it's always consistent, and Google will start to pick up, I always say Google because it's the one we use most. It's like Peter said, it's like 80 to 90% of the market share. People use that, but Google picks that up over time, and they start to rank you for that. Can we go back a slide, Peter, or am I taking too much time?
Well, we're just kind of running out of time here, so I'm just gonna.
Okay.
We can. I want to leave some time here for Q&A. Sorry, Robert. Since I have control of the slides, I can do this.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. No. I think you summed it up nicely. And again, in all honesty, it gets a little technical, and technical people kind of get excited about this, of course, but. It's something that you generally would talk to your web developer about some of these things, right? And then so I just briefly want to wrap this up here because I want to respect your time, and there's a lot more we can say about any of these topics, but again, I'm just going to continue on, and this is a very quick one, like. Links to your website are actually a ranking factor as well. So if you can improve on that area, so for example, you're a chamber member, make sure that your website is actually listed on that profile, because again, when Google does their searching and indexing, they pick up on those things. So if you're, for example, a member of the Red Deer Chamber, for example, or Lacombe Chamber, I should say, that is a respected website that has quite a bit of an authority. So again. Backlinks it's a bit of a tedious job to create more of them, but the slide kind of implements some of the easy ones for you to take care of again, right? Maybe you already have those listings, but your website is incorrect, or you don't have your website listed on any of those. So again, incoming links to your website are an indication for Google to say, hey, this is a legitimate business, and they know what you're talking about, because that's related to your search. So again, we're kind of flying through this here right now, but so that kind of wraps up the more the technical SEO portion of some of the things that you can do. So then the last part is the social media, and this is of course a lot of people that we talk to, that I talk to, talk a lot about social media, what it can and what it cannot do, and yeah, like it's and again, our point of view is that social media is another tool that's really useful, but just the tool itself is not going to change the world or necessarily improve the traffic to your website if you don't use it the right way and kind of use it in conjunction with everything else you're doing. So that's something that really it's important to keep in mind. Don't necessarily jump on the latest social media platform without giving it any thought or any consideration if it actually fits within your strategy, because we all know social media it can be a huge resource waster, right? Or waste, or I mean, it takes a lot of time to keep track of all that stuff. So a lot of our small business clients are really I'd say confused about what it can and cannot do. So, and that's another, that's a kind of a conversation that I think is important to kind of understand. So again, it's another tool in the toolbox, and it's a great tool to show you the human side of your business, right? So where Katie is diligently posting things on our social media platforms, and the posts that get the most engagement are actually the ones that are nothing to do with the work we do, or it's about maybe somebody that works here, or a story that actually intrigues people more so than actually the what we actually do for a living. So that's kind of important to keep in mind. So it creates awareness. Make your brand more personal. Like once you actually see somebody speak in a video on social media, you get a better impression of what this company is all about, and that's really, really important. I think these days a lot of people are really attracted to that, and the reality is, like, people still buy from people, right? And with all the technology that we've introduced over the years, people crave for this personal connection and actually go like, hey, there's actually real people behind this brand or behind this store that actually, maybe they're not perfect either, but they are willing to help and to learn, right? So again, really, one of the rules of thumb, I guess, on social media is that we kind of live by is, 80% is a deposit of information or entertainment, something that's funny or just, make somebody else's day. And 20% should be withdrawal, meaning it could be an offer, or it could be more like a promotional post, because a lot of people don't want to be sold to, and especially on the social media platforms, so selling is really, really quite difficult. So. Okay, a couple tips in this area. But in my opinion, focus on the big platforms first, because they have the most users, and for most businesses, these are probably the 4 that you should pay attention to. If you are a business to business, you sell to a lot of businesses, of course, LinkedIn, something like LinkedIn probably be a really good choice. But before you do anything, come up with a plan, make a decision on what will work for your business. There's also, like the content calendar. So make sure that you think through what you want to post, and instead of just always being under the gun, and I know what it's like, because I feel like that oftentimes. You always have these deadlines for posts that need to go out. What we recommend is, like, make a three-month calendar and actually pre-package all those posts to make sure they're ready to go, and then use an automated tool to post those things as well.